Yo, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Akakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of the video is Maduro could have taught Asher the truth. And now ultimately, you could say that Maduro being captured was definitely judgment of the Lord, of course, right? Because he's of the tribe of Asher. But, he also, for what I can understand, he told that he said that the Israelis, right, weren't the actual Jews. So he could have knew, or even watched the prophets and understood, who he actually was and who the Edomites was and things like that. But basically, he wasn't like implementing the laws, in Venezuela, right? And that's the point I want to point out because he had the truth, basically, and he didn't share it. Now he could have not known, you know, or whatever the case may be, but he did say that the Israelis was not the true Jews, right? So I'm believing that maybe he saw the elder apostles video, whatever the case may be, the men of GMS, and came to some type of understanding, right? But that was about it. Because you even have YNs, talking about calling Edomites, and things like that nowadays, right? So the information is definitely out there, but this dude was president of the whole Venezuela, which is the tribe of Asher, Asher and whatnot. So I got the map here for this thing here, Asher, uh, Colombians who, I got it right here. Iguana, right? I don't want to click it and then mess the video up, but basically, that right there are Asher, and I got the map. You have the Colombian, Venezuela, Guyana, okay? This area right here, right? For Asher. And, the president of Venezuela, when Maduro got captured, right? Shortly, and he said, like I said, he said that the Jews were not the true Jews, or those Israeli, cosplayers were not the true Jews. So he could have knew the truth, but he ain't do nothing with it. So anyway, Maduro claims that the Israelis, this is what I typed, I was trying to find it. So Maduro claims that the Israelis in the land of Israel are not the true Jews, and AI said yes. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has made statements claiming that Israelis, right, and the current state of Israel do not represent the true Jews. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know if in which way he meant it, but I'm gonna just go with that he knew a little bit because the truth has gone out to the full corners of the earth. Pretty much everyone knows about it, and even the Russian icons and the Persian AI videos, right? All this stuff has gone out. So based on his rhetoric, particularly during the 2024-2025 period, Maduro has differentiated between his professed respect for Jewish heritage and his sharp opposition to Zionism and the Israeli government. Like I said, so the statement was made. I don't know of what capacity, like of truth, he knew to this basically. But like I said, I'm gonna go with that he knew and he did nothing with it, and therefore the Lord judged him regardless. This is Deuteronomy 33 and 24. It says in Asher. So this is going to the blessings, right? The blessing of Moses says, and of Asher, he said, let Asher be blessed with children, let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. Now, Venezuela has a lot of oil over there in that land. That's one of the reasons why they went over there to take, Venezuela, because all the oil. And these people love oil. Just 1 second. Hello. All right. All right, so I'm gonna pause this video. I have to go handle something, and I'll be back shortly. All right, Shalom. So I'm back. Deuteronomy 33 and 24. And of Asher, he said, let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. Now, Asher is, Venezuelan, the Venezuelans, and they're over there in that land with a lot of oil, right? This is them. This is Isaiah 29 and 13. It says, wherefore the Lord Yahweh watching our shah said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth and would live to honor me, but have removed their hearts far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. And ultimately, this dude Maduro, he drew near unto the Lord with his mouth. Like I said, I'm using what he said, you know, of basically saying that, because I can't, I don't know, like I said, I don't know what he knows, right? If he understood that he was an Israelite or not, but he did say, like I said, that those fake ass Jews in the land of Israel are just that fake, So like I said, my point is that I'm saying that he knew basically, and he did nothing about it, okay? And the Lord judged him. It says again, Isaiah 29 and 13, wherefore the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua said, for as much as this people draw near with me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me taught by the precept of men. All right. So ultimately Maduro, he didn't do anything about serving the Lord, right? Teaching the other Israelites in the land, him being the president, that they are Israelites. Right? NLT says, and so the Lord Yahweh Bashim says, these people say they are mine. They honor me with their lips, but their hearts, which is the mind, are far from me. Right? And their worship of me is nothing but man-made rules learned by rote. Ultimately, whatever rules Maduro set up in his kingdom. If he knew he was an Israelite, and that the Bible should govern the land, he did his own type of rules in that land. So I wanted to get the parable of the talents here, Matthew 25 and 14. The point I want, down here at the end, we'll get it. It says, Matthew 25 and 14, for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. Now to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same and made them other 5 talents. And because the point, you can liken this to our elder apostles, right? That was given a lot and basically multiplied a lot, because the truth started way back then, 1960s to 70s, right? And you can see the fruit of that. It took off in 2008 once this thing's hit the www dot, right? And that's all the talents that they went out and they actually did something with it, right? So they had multiple talents. It says, and likewise, he that had received 2, he also gathered other 2, right? So hey, you can liken that to the fruit, of the elder apostles and whatnot. We have entered into other men's labors. It says, but he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. And that could be individuals that fall off by the wayside, and different things like that. The cares of this world, strip them up. I think that's, let me see. All right, I'm gonna see. Let's see where that one is at. Since I brought it out, let me actually get it right now. I know it's in Matthew. I just don't know exactly where. Let me look it up real quick. Could be Matthew. All right. Let me see what Matthew 13. And this goes into what I want to talk about also, because this dude Maduro had money, right? Okay, no, this is not what I wanted. Let me get that mark. All right, the solar is plain. All right, so I'm gonna get it from one. I gotta turn this on real quick. Bear with me. It's lucky. All right, so this is Matthew 13 and 1. It says, the same day went out Yahushua, uh, the same day went Yahushua out of the house and sat by the seaside, and great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he had sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell on stony places, where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among the thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. It says, but others fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some an hundredfold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who have ears to hear, let them hear. So this is going to the talents too of what happened, right? Regarding just having like I was explaining earlier with the apostles having many talents and bringing forth much fruit, and it goes some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. All right. Now the point I wanted when I was talking about this guy Maduro is 13. It says Matthew 13:22 says, he also that received seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, in the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. Now, I'm not saying Maduro was a prophet, but he probably had that one talent and hit it. And that one talent for him was the fact that he knew that he was the Israelite, right? But him being the ruler of Venezuela and trying to do trade and worry about all this extra shit, he was unprofitable, ultimately. So we'll go back down here. Right, so Matthew 25 and 18, but to the point, it says, but he that had received one went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. All right, after a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents, though I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His Lord said unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord, of thy Lord. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. His Lord said unto him, well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, let me make sure this is still popping off. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art a hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and I went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest I reap where I sowed not, and gathered where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury, right? Which is, basically more. It says, Take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him which have 10 talents. All right, it says, For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And the water Yahweh for the ability to do the work, to participate in the ministry, right? To be among brethren, right? In whatever capacity, that you're able to, do. Hey, make it worth it, basically. It says, Matthew 25:29 says, For unto every one that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into utter darkness, right? Utter darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Yeah, Maduro probably in a cell somewhere. I've been thinking about it too. I'm like, damn, we didn't see this man not once. Who knows what they're doing to him? But I think he had a poor appearance, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, if they leave him, he's gonna die right here in Babylon, right? When the missiles hit, because he had talent, which he knew. He might have known that he was Israelite, and the people over there in our land is not Israelites. He needed nothing, about that. He was too cared about the money. James 5:1, it says, Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for the miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered. Venezuela got all that over there. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, right? Lord of heaven armies. Now, I don't know, how bad it is over there in Venezuela. I heard sayings or whatever the case may be, but I know that he had his people working, right? He ain't probably making them work on a Sabbath and all of that, most likely, right? NLT says, For listen, hear the cries of the field workers whom you have cheated of their pay. The cries of those who harvest your fields, maybe harvesting the oil, right? The mines, the gold mines and whatnot. The cries of those who harvest your fields have reached the ears of the Lord of heaven's armies. All right. You have lived in pleasure on earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. All right. So, that's Maduro, and on one point, because we use this for Esau, the wicked, the heathen too. This is Isaiah 20:14. Wherefore, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashmawashah, ye scornful men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem, right? And Jerusalem is a people for the place, and that, of course, includes the tribe of Asher, who Maduro, tribe of Asher, has he ruled over them. It says, because ye have said we have made a covenant with them, and with him we are agreement. Probably different agreements. He had agreements with Russia. Russia sent him equipment to try to fend off America. But I guess they didn't use it, whatever the case may be. It says, because ye have said we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. We have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. Right? And it goes deep. If you don't really understand that the wicked really run the world, someone might talk about, let's say, the fake ass Jews, the fake ass Israelis over there in our land, not knowing they run the whole world, and their connections run deep, and they get people missing, and things like that. That was Maduro. He could have been talking about Israel. That's why when America is fighting this war with Israel, people are like, why is America, big ass United States of America, helping this little ass, not even a football field country, type of situation? But it's because they really run the world, you know. So Maduro talking about Israel, not knowing that they run the world, basically. Says because he have said we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and on the falsehood have we hid ourselves. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Basina shall behold, I lay in Zion a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste. Right? And that's Yahweh Shah. And you got Russia with the Russian icons, right? The Persians with the AI videos showing that we are the Israelites. Maduro should know this. He should know that we're the Israelites. And I believe he do. But like I said, he didn't make a statement come out. We're the Israelites. But he damn sure wasn't treating the people right, putting them under the laws and nothing like that. At least trying. Shit, you could set something up. Hey, whether they hear, whether they forbear. Says judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet. And the hell shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the water shall overflow the hiding place. And your covenant with death shall be disallowed, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge pass through, then ye shall be trodden down by it. And that's exactly what happened in Maduro. All right. So I just want to put it out there. Lord willing, we will edify from the lesson. Shalom to those electors consist of men, women, and children. Shalom.